I just want to say before I get into this video that there will be heavy spoilers for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So now that you've been warned, let's jump right into it. Man. James Gunn has proven once again that he just doesn't fail to deliver. If I had to sum up this movie into one word, I'd just say it's amazing. And this just furthers my point that James Gunn is going to be able to make a good comic accurate version of Superman and bring him onto screen. This is the best MCU movie that we've had since No Way Home, and it conveys a very deep message that even makes me self-reflect on my own life. One of the biggest messages that this movie delivers is acceptance. We witness a consistent cycle of this happening through Star-Lord and Gamora's dynamic, which I'll get into a little later, but one of the most notable instances with this is with Rocket. The foreshadowing shown in the first two movies helps convey acceptance through Rocket. Rocket experiences a sense of guilt when he loses his friends to the High Evolutionary, and this guilt remains on his conscience even after he joins the Guardians. And we learn it in this film. Through the guilt that he feels, Rocket learns to accept his past and move forward. And like Rocket even says in his own words in the movie,
"Pete, I'm done running."
James Gunn uses Rocket's flashbacks to provide a sense of darkness to convey acceptance through hope. For example, at the beginning of the movie, the Guardians are put in a lose-lose situation. In the movie, the biggest turning point comes when Rocket's life hangs in the balance. Two possible outcomes loom over the characters. Either one, Rocket meets his demise because they fail to take action, or if they attempt to rescue him, he succumbs to a failsafe embedded within him. But Star-Lord decides to deviate from these options and he chooses a different path altogether, and this crucial decision stems from the deep connections and relationships that they've been able to create throughout the trilogy. By examining the relationships that have been built and developed over time, we can come to realize that they serve as a catalyst for the alternative course of action. By examining the relationships that have been built and developed over time, we come to realize that they serve as the catalyst for the alternative course of action. These connections give rise to a sense of hope that permits the narrative, and without these profound bonds, the characters would lack the motivation and determination necessary to defy the odds. Also, to seek an unconventional solution. Star-Lord's decision to take a different route not only showcases the power of interpersonal relationships, but also underscores the movie's theme of hope and resilience. It highlights the impact that acceptance and unity can have on individuals and their ability to comfort seemingly hard challenges. Through this, we can understand the choice that James Gunn was going for in terms of storytelling, and we gain insight into the deeper layers of the story and the thematic messages it seeks to convey. The characters' actions and relationships they have nurtured become essential elements that drive the plot forward, instilling the audience with the renewed sense of hope and reminding them of the impact acceptance can have on humans. But that's not even the most of it. Rocket Raccoon isn't just a test subject anymore, but we have to realize that he's not any different from any of us. Because he's had emotions that help him endure through the guilt he's had to deal with because of his friends' deaths, he feels like he's let them down, but he finally gets the acceptance and the comfort that he was looking for all along through talking to Lila, his dead friend. And this is what Rocket needed to accept so that he could become better. Now, deviating away from Rocket a little bit, something similar in terms of dynamic unfolds with Peter and Gamora. When Peter first lays eyes on Gamora, he's awestruck, bewildered by the sight of the person that he loves, even though she appears to be a completely different person. This kind of moment was previously attempted in Endgame, but it was overshadowed by the humor, which made it less impactful. But in this movie, it's completely different because we're presented with a more refined version that aligns better with the story's direction. As the movie progresses, Gamora initially rejects the version of herself that Peter recognizes, making this kind of false sense of identity within herself through other characters. This leads to conflict between both of them, and their banter is actually really hilarious as Peter all the time just notes back to her old self to get her mad.
Died, but then she came back. Came back a total.
Oh, please.
However, when Rocket's condition becomes critical, Gamora begins to develop a soft spot for the Guardians, gaining a deeper understanding of Peter's perspective. Interestingly, similar to Gamora, Peter undergoes a similar journey. In later moments of the film, subtle hints suggest that fragments of his Gamora still exist. But yet, he still finds himself caught inside of some sort of dilemma. However, after she's done assisting him helping Rocket, they share a heartfelt conversation before parting ways and before she goes back with the Ravagers. Both Peter and Gamora learn to embrace each other's perspectives, acknowledging that this Gamora might not be the one that they knew. But it's not only Peter that James Gunn has to get this through to. James Gunn is also using this to convey it to the audience, as we, just like Peter, also are confronted with the challenge of acceptance and accepting this new Gamora. Just as Peter navigates his path of understanding, we're compelled to accept and adapt to this altered version, expanding our own capacity for accept. By accepting the story's progression, we delve deeper into the thematic exploration of acceptance and witness the personal growth between all of these characters. Their journey makes us reflect on the complexity of acceptance in our own lives in a way, and that in itself just shows us that the message of acceptance and the power of embracing change is one that's very powerful in its own right. And because of this, I think that their story isn't done, but for now, this is a satisfying conclusion for the best couple in the MCU. Moving beyond the main focuses of this film like Star-Lord, Gamora, and Rocket, it's worth delving into the portrayal of the lesser characters. In specific, Nebula, who surprisingly had a really good impression on me in this film, was very hilarious, and her intriguing personality shines through. And she's used to portray the iconic James Gunn humor that's been followed in all of James Gunn's movies through Rocket, Peacemaker, and many more characters. Nebula's dynamic with the rest of the Guardians proves to be an interesting add, aligning with the earlier discussed theme of hope. And in addition to that, it kind of feels like at the beginning of the movie that this Nebula feels like our Gamora in terms of personality, and this new Gamora feels like the older Nebula before Gamora had died. And this kind of makes sense when you think about what's said and what's shown in Volume 2. In Volume 2, it's made clear many different times that Gamora has hope in Nebula and hopes that she can eventually find a family like she did. And now that Nebula's found her place amongst them, she feels like a necessary addition to make the family what it is. Through this character arc, Nebula demonstrates significant growth, triumphing over her past trauma involving Thanos. This evolution adds new layers to her personality, shifting her from disliking Peter to recognizing his admirable qualities. She also occasionally takes jabs at the other Guardians members while also simultaneously offering them emotional support. She does it with Peter multiple times in this film, and after the talk with Gamora, like I mentioned earlier, she asks if he's alright to add that extra emotional support. Her emotional support towards Peter and Rocket not only reinforces the previously mentioned themes of acceptance and resilience, but also introduces new themes of unity and friendship. Nebula's journey and just her arc as a whole, and what I think James Gunn is trying to portray, is just a testament to the power of overcoming past traumas and forging new connections through them. And all of this combined just makes her very compelling and relatable. Mantis is used in a similar way, but she's often used for humor, but her helping Nebula overcome her lingering negative emotions is a way of supporting those themes as well. And there's a scene in the movie that you probably heard of on Twitter where Groot is finally understandable to the audience for once. And through this, it means that we're finally a part of the family as well. Through not just understanding what Groot's saying, but how we've got to see these characters and how far they've come since we were introduced to them nearly 10 years ago. The High Evolutionary is a really good main antagonist, and he captivates the audience with his performance and compelling motive. And while his motive might not be entirely original, it's Chuck Woody's portrayal of the character that truly gets us locked into the movie. Through the High Evolutionary's actions, the other characters in the movie begin to comprehend why Rocket has concealed his past and the profound trauma that he's endured. But with that being said, let's go into something that I really didn't like, and it's only really one thing, to be honest. Adam Warlock. Adam Warlock initially poses a significant issue. While his entrance is captivating and his confrontation with Rocket leaves the latter in critical condition, his character just lacks development and purpose that would make him a compelling character at all. And he doesn't really contribute anything to the overall story. But despite these flaws, the movie shines through the exceptional performance of the High Evolutionary and the exploration of Rocket's past, and its themes of acceptance and hope, whether it's through Star-Lord and Gamora's dynamic or Rocket's past, are things that are just making this movie peak, which allows us to engage with the characters on a deep and emotional level, which I think is lacking in a bunch of current MCU movies, and I'm glad this one fixed it up. But with that being said, if you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe. And I know I've been gone for a little bit because my MacBook laptop did break and it was preventing me from basically editing anything. But now I'm back and that's all that matters. So it's your boy Auden. I'm out.